It's 9 o'clock here, and I'm still trying to wake up.
It's noon where I am, so we're cool.
Oh, so anyway, so should we go with the dog background then?
I
But we
like
can't see the dogs very well. That doesn't matter. Open highway today. We'll go open highway. Nothing out there but emptiness. Well, I'm
transition.
with Nicholas, guys. Nicholas Sherman. Why don't you introduce yourself? Just as you introduced yourself to me, introduce yourself to our esteemed audience.
Sounds good. Yeah. Nick Sherman. I live in Portsmouth, Ohio. I'm a visual artist, graphic designer. I also like to coach and do movement stuff. And like I was telling Mark, I kind of got, or I entered deeper into the YouTube space, and I think, well, I did a year-long apprenticeship with Rafe Kelly, who runs the Evolve Move Play methodology, and it's kind of like the martial arts of meaning. This is the term that I have kind of loosely played around with, and the idea is that the more movement experiences, like the more experiences we get embodied through body to environment and parkour, through body to itself, through body to objects, which would be like the rod, the rock, and the rope, ball sports, whatever you would tell, flow sports, and then finally body to body, like wrestling, things like that, wrestling, martial arts. The more experiences we get well-rounded with in our body, kind of the more well-rounded our perspective becomes. And I really like that idea because I've always heard I'm pretty sure my dad said before, like, if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? And so, yeah, you just kind of collect the evolvement play is actually a really cool methodology for rounding out your perspective in a very playful way and trying lots of new things that are fun and playful and game oriented and learning about yourself and others. Um, so yeah, I guess because of Peterson, I found Rafe, and also because of Peterson, I found like Vervaeke and Peugeot, and then I kept just kind of exploring the periphery of that, and the algo was serving up like something Paul Vanderklay was commenting on. Then I went deeper into Paul Vanderklay, and you're in there, Mark, and Luke's in there, and Grim Grizz, and all these odd characters. And I don't know. I've just been playing. I've been along for the ride and checking out what you guys been into.
How long
And
have you been around? With how long have you been aware of, say, Vanderklay?
oh man, at least 3 years, I would
Okay.
say. How long you think he's been doing this thing in the space? 5, 6,
8. I think it's like up
8?
to 8 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe it's been longer. But I think what really caught my attention, I think, was I was we mentioned this. I'll mention it very briefly. We mentioned before, there's a lot of energy from the extra-angelical deconstruction sort of space in here, and I think what stuck out to me of Paul, what shined out and became salient, was that he was a Calvinist, or he's this Dutch Calvinist or something
Hmm.
like that. I don't want to just put
Yeah, he is.
labels on,
Yeah. Yeah.
but then he could talk so like openly in these in between spaces, and I really needed that. That was like I don't know, that was just uh that was nourishment to me because I felt like there was no in between space, maybe from that particular perspective.
Hmm.
And on that topic, Mark, so getting into the Buddhism and Christianity thing, I was just listening to a live stream before this, just briefly while I was doing some a little bit of the design work, which I do on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And Vervaeke was talking to, oh man, I forget the name of this kid's name, but he wears kind of like a Zen Buddhist shawl thing. Anyway, he was talking to him about how even Vervaeke is accepting that we can't pretend we don't have the roots that we do, like in Christianity. It
Hmm.
would be Jung famously said that it's almost impossible for us to shake this. Okay.
Hmm.
And at first he was saying that made him be like, like it's a bad taste in his mouth, like to feel like he was stuck in that. But then he started to see, oh well, I guess what I can help people do is take a pilgrimage to see their roots more objectively or something. And he mentioned this book. It's called Without Buddha, I Could Not Be a Christian. It's from
Hmm.
Paul F. Knitter. And
Is that
all
knitter with a K or knitter with an it begins with an N?
with a K,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Knittr. And I thought that was so fascinating because that was my I guess, Mark, I'll say this. I was so locked down ideologically. I was so locked down, like, in my, I'd say Reformed Baptist perspective, or like the five solas or whatever the Calvinist sort of perspective. And I'm more of an artistic person, so I don't even know that I really internalized it in the way that certain other people did. But I just thought that's where I was safe, like existentially, against a God that demanded punishment. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was really fixated on just like wanting to be okay in that way and be safe from hell, and I guess be doing the right thing and be and have the right message for people. And I don't even know, I guess, how to put that exactly into words, but I was really locked down in that. And that started because of Peterson. He showed me that like the Bible is kind of like a two-way street almost. Like I thought it was a one-way street. I'm going to speak sort of symbolically here, so
Go
forgive
ahead.
me.
Go ahead.
But
Mm-hmm.
it felt like the Bible was a two-way or a one-way street where there's a literal interpretation and you have to just get as close to that as possible, right? But then when you start understanding it symbolically, which people in my circle maybe would have been afraid of, or maybe I would have been afraid of, then you start to realize, oh no, this thing is way more deep than I don't know. You can understand it many ways, and that doesn't mean that every way is the same way or anything like that. But it opened it up, and then I kind of like certain dominoes started falling like that, and I started realizing that lots of the ways that I perceived thing was a one-way street when it was actually many more streets,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how I started to deconstruct like the cognitive dissonance. It just started one thing after another. I couldn't live up to being like supposed to be a messenger of salvation, etc., etc. And at the bottom of that, okay, I've been reading this one. I've been reading Awakening from the Meaning Crisis,
Okay.
Vervaeke's book. I've been doing a year-long apprenticeship with Rafe Kelly. I've been deconstructing my faith. Business wasn't going like I wanted it to go. I mean, my wife was not feeling well in certain ways,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot just kind of hit at once.
Mm-hmm.
And at the bottom of that, I read the Buddha's story again.
Mm-hmm.
Like I read about the wheel, because life is suffering is the Dharma wheel, and suffering means dukkha, which means broken wheel. And if the wheel's
Mm-hmm.
broken, it destroys itself. But if you
Mm-hmm.
fix it, it moves loads much heavier than itself on its own, right? It
Mm-hmm.
moves loads much heavier than itself in it, and you can make lots of these virtuous circles in your life. And it was talking about how the Buddha invented the middle path was he heard those two people were riding by on the boat, and no, you can't turn the strings too tight or too loose. And then he had the revelation of the middle path. When he was in the palace, he was much too loose. He was living like in pleasure to pleasure. When he was
Mm-hmm.
out in the wilderness, his strings were too tight, and he was high strung, and he was, I guess, escaping in a different way, like punishing himself for his ignorance or something. Um, and I guess I would say that it like in my mind at the moment, it felt like I understood why I was suffering, and I never would have been open to that story had I if I'd heard it 5 years before. There was no way. Like
Yeah.
it was existentially, and I was so thick in my lens and like needing that. I guess having an anxious attachment to that or something. So I guess is that at all the way the wheel thing? Is that at all the way you relate to Buddhism, Mark, or is your entry point completely different? Because you showed me the shawl thing.
Yeah,
It's
the
sitting right
Tonka.
back.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, the
I don't even know
Tonka.
what that's called. What is that?
It's a Tonka. It's like a Tibetan icon, I guess you'd say.
Oh
If you
wow.
imagine what an icon in Orthodox Christianity is, it's just a one is Avalokiteshvara and the other one is right Tara. You can look them each up. That's Avalokiteshvara is they're both bodhisattvas. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
you just so you know, my understanding of Buddhism is like from this. It's from Vervaeke's basically
Okay.
like much more. I'm sure our understandings are
Sure.
completely different. So I don't want you to. I don't
No,
want
no,
to.
no. Well, yeah, there's lots of avenues towards it. I think I assume Vervaeke knows a lot more about it than I do.
I don't know. Maybe.
But my avenue is I don't know if I'd call it narrow, but yeah, it's pretty narrow. It's how did I find it? What was happening in my life 20 years ago? I was raised I was, if you will, kind of born and raised in evangelical fundamentalism.
Hmm.
And uh I mean, immersed in it, probably in a way not dissimilar from Paul Vanderklay's experience of growing up Dutch Calvinist, except mine turned dark.
Huh.
Uh, so, and then it turned out I had type 2 bipolar disorder. I went undiagnosed into my 30s. But
I did listen to some of your monologue, your longer
oh, that
earlier
old thing I
monologue.
made a couple of years ago. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you made an interesting point too on there on like more charismatic circles and how that
Yeah,
might
yeah,
be.
yeah. Because
That was interesting.
The Baptist threw me out. I was kicked out of the Baptist church I had been more or less growing up in, at least had been in for a very long time. From say 11 to 7, my parents kind of, I think, moved us over there when I was 10 or 11. And that's where I had my kind of born again Baptist experience. And at 17, I stumbled into a church split by accident. I think is the only way I can figure out how it happened. And one thing, I offended the pastor and elders profoundly, and they kicked me out. So at 17, I got kicked out. Down the street of the whole time, though, the charismatic Calvary Chapel scene is alive and wild at that point, and a brand new one had opened up in Rialto, just down the street. And so I started, and they were renting a Church of Christ or something, I think. And because I had originally my family church, the church I was initially baptized into, was Church of Christ, but for some reason my parents didn't keep going to that, and so they pivoted to Buddha to Baptist. From Baptist, then I got kicked out. From there, I go to the Calvary Chapel and discover charismania and ultimately the Vineyard, and have all kinds of wild, strange experiences that I can't explain rationally.
Sure.
But all the while, I'm dealing with type 2 bipolar disorder. So,
Hmm.
so I live with that stuff for another. Well, like I said, and I live well. I go into treatment in my 30s. I don't start, and I'm treatment resistant. It turns out none of the drugs work. All the drugs, all the treatments, electroshock, the whole 9 yards.
Wow.
None of it works. And each one has its own weird story because they're horrible. I mean, it's like I said, it's the story goes dark, and then in my 40s, I stumbled across a guy I used to listen to when I would drive at 16. I loved, because I loved driving. I got my license on my birthday at 16. And I'd drive and drive. And back in those days, driving in Southern California was a pleasure. So you drive to the mountains, and then you drive to the beach, and you drive it just was fun.
Yeah.
But I'd listen to things. We didn't have podcasts. We had radio. And I'd listen to a guy named, you probably heard of him. I skipped his name. He's a British guy, Alan Watts.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
Well, it turned out he's on the internet in my 40s. There he is. He's on YouTube. Has it been around that long? Has YouTube been around for that long? My goodness. Anyway, late 40s. Goodness. So middle 40s, I rediscover Alan Watts.
Okay.
So I get all of his. It may not have been on YouTube, but I stumbled upon it again. I said, and I started listening to it. And then, so of course, with Alan Watts, you get some Buddhism, you get some Hinduism, you get some Christianity, because he's explored all of these. He's a linguist. He knows Sanskrit. He knows the Greek. He can work in the Hebrew. He's seminary trained in the Anglican tradition. He's an LSD dude. He's a hippie.
Hmm.
He dies of alcoholism in 1973, I think.
That is heartbreaking. Yeah.
Yeah, wild story. But another guy, another broken wheel.
Right.
Um, but he he and then Ram Dass kind of got me turned on to India and yoga and Buddhism. And I kind of, the yoga, basically the yoga and the meditation played huge roles in my getting mentally better.
Hmm.
I basically learned how, I didn't know it. At various points, I thought I was healed, but I wasn't never healed of the bipolar. I just learned how to live with it.
Hmm.
And and I probably really discovered that when I got deeper and more centered on Buddhism. So the Buddhism, I ultimately found a guy who would be more closer to we might call my guru. I just found Tibetan Buddhism being my space.
Yeah.
It was not a place I could stay because I'm not Tibetan.
Hmm.
But it was a place where I could kind of visit and learn how to live and find the right examples on how to survive this incarnation for its duration and not cut it off short.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and so that's my avenue. So it's more in practice. It's out of my experience is through practice and survival and um, it's not an academic thing for me. It was never. I never wanted to know you can, if you really want to know the technicalities of all the sutras and get the nomenclature right and the history right. The guy to talk to is someone like William Branch.
Hmm.
William Branch can spout it off. He's an encyclopedia in that way. I'm not an encyclopedia. I'm
Wouldn't it isn't the argument for I don't know, Buddhism or Zen even, that it's more about it's closer to the practice than the theory, right? Like beginner
Well, yeah,
mind.
yeah. The theory, the Tibetans are funny. They approach it for their youngsters. I mean, they initiate monks as young as I think 5 or 6. They're very young when they enter the
Holy
monastery.
cow.
Yeah, it's basically as soon as they're weaned from their mothers, they enter. Well, they used to. I don't know what they're doing under the Chinese now. I mean, everything's weird even for them.
Yeah.
Ironically, the Chinese wanted to destroy this ancient barbarian religion to help progress both China and the world through enlightened communism. And just like all persecutions, all they did is they smashed the vessel and then spread it out everywhere. It's Tibetan Buddhism. Nobody knew what Tibetan Buddhism was back in the 1960s or 50s. It was nothing. It was until a couple guys landed in the UK
Yeah.
and in France that did anybody even have the first clue. Buddhism, and I think in the West, I think modern people really in the early, looking in the Kennedy administration, early 1960s, we're in Vietnam. America's in Vietnam, and what they're some people's first experience of Buddhism is watching Buddhist monks in Vietnam self-emulate in protest of the oppressive regime
Yeah.
in the South and the Civil War and all that. And so, self-emulation, for those of you in Kentucky, means lighting yourself on fire.
Yeah.
I'm teasing. I'm teasing Kentuckians. Um,
They're really close to us. They're like really right across the river.
yeah, is that where you're
Yeah.
at?
Yeah. Yeah.
I forgot you told me. I can't remember what state you're in.
Ohio.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That is
They're,
Kentucky. I was in Indiana. That's Kentucky. Very close to Kentucky. All part of the
sometimes
same.
sometimes my uncle would say, "You ever hear the Great Ohio Kentucky War?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well, the Kentuckians would throw bombs over the wall to Ohio, and then we just light them and throw them right back." Yeah, there. He was just talking to kids, but
But anyway, I think the harder people try to break, uh, the more people try to break these, something like Buddhism or Judaism. Uh, Christian history has some of that too. The more you try to break a thing, the more you seem to fuel its spread, and that's what's happened to Tibetan Buddhism. The Dalai Lama, no one knew what the Dalai Lama was. It was a big weird mystery. A couple German guys in the 1930s hike up the Himalayas, and it was an isolated kingdom. They didn't want outsiders messing with their paradise.
Yeah.
20% of the population lived in monasteries and as monks or nuns. I mean, it was, but they also, became a bit, because they didn't update, they kind of lived in perpetually in the 16th century. So they didn't have the technology to fight and resist when the Chinese came. But I digress. Anyway, that's my entry. My Buddhism is really, in fact, at this point, the degree that I'm Buddhist, I don't really, I'm revisiting the subject now is how to practice it, because it's not to be a Buddhist, is to
Yeah.
be,
Yeah.
you want to, it's to have, well, the first step, and it's always the first step in the Noble Eightfold Path. It's to the right sight. So to see right, and everything else follows. I
Hmm.
don't really need to have, calling it something is itself a kind of delusion.
Right.
So
What
yeah, go ahead.
what did you okay, building on that, Mark? No, that's interesting. What positive did you take from it? And then how did you get to pseudo Catholic? I guess if we're following the thread of
Right, right.
why would Buddhism lead someone to Christian back to Christianity? Like
Well,
what
in my case, yeah, I can be real specific. I
yeah.
I spent a week with Garchen Rinpoche in Arizona. He's a Tibetan guy. He finished his training in a Chinese labor camp because he fought with the Tibetan resistance,
Hmm.
and he was 20 years in the camp. Somehow he got out and made it to the United States. There's some rumors that the U.S. government was involved in getting him out. I don't know all the story about
Dang.
it. There's actually a documentary you can watch. It's a little sentimental in its style, but it's got some information about him that's pretty good. And it's on YouTube, I think. Last time I checked, it's Garchen Rinpoche. Rinpoche.
Okay.
Just Garchen instead of garden. It's Garchen. It's Garchen. And once you put in Garchen Rinpoche, Rin, Rin Po, Poche, I think is how we spell it. Anyway, um, he's quite a character. You
Yeah.
just hang out with him it was lots of weirdo experiences. Even that week where it was wild, and I had some realizations
Hmm.
as I described in the video. You could say it felt a bit telepathic, but it was, he initiated me into Buddhism. That's where I became a card carrying Tibetan Buddhist. I got a Tibetan name and everything, got a card that shows it.
I didn't make it that far. I need to go back and do some homework.
Okay. Oh, that's fine. No, it's a long, long, long drawn out thing.
That's interesting though, Mark.
But we touched heads. What part of the thing is you get the scarf and you touch foreheads. And at the very end of the meeting, he's got all these kind of Westerners of various. I mean, it was a retreat, and he closes he makes us all sing the national anthem at the end because he's such a character.
That is fun.
But he was an old guy. He's even older now. But this was 10 years ago now. But people would just little old ladies would just sit by him and just would come to visit, and all they wanted to do is sit with him, and he just would bliss out while everybody's just, yeah, okay, you can sit with me, and he's just so happy just to have uh uh and he just embodied, to me, he modeled a certain kind of goodness that you just don't see every day. So anyway, as soon as I leave the place, I realize that the command is, so to speak, from the guru is now, okay, thanks for the visit. Go back and be a Christian and an American.
Really?
It's, yeah, because that's your karma. Because also karma yoga is part of my thing. That had been something I was aware of for a long time. Karma yoga is just basically a union with God in just the daily tasks of life. You're stuck here. You're in this place. This is your karma. Whatever your karma is whatever your experience. It's your action. Whatever you're experiencing now is your karma. It's what you've made, and it's what's been made for you in a sense. It's been you're making it, right? So this is, and there's some people get very literalistic about it, and some people I think you can be more symbolic and figurative in the thinking, but karma yoga is basically saying, this is the place I am. I'm going to be holy where I'm at. HOLY, holy. But you could also say holy where I'm at. WHOLY. You'd go either way.
Right.
So, and so by realizing, no, this is, see, my idea, my dream funeral, I've said this before, my dream funeral would be to just be put up on a mountain, cut into pieces in the Tibetan style, given a sky funeral, and fed to the vultures. Because that's to me the very best way to go, to get rid of this body.
That's epic and spiritual and metal and all in one.
Yeah, it's again, how much do the Tibetans get to do that anymore? Nowadays, what they do, I think Trungpa, I think they burned him, burned his body. But the tradition, depending on the lineage, I suppose, too, the tradition is not. The word's escaping me. It's not incineration. What's the word?
Emulsification. No, not emulsification. I don't know what I'm saying.
You turn people into bones and ash. Anyway, help me out, hive mind. I said I woke up this morning. I'm still in bed, guys. I'm still in bed.
That was close enough, Mark. Don't worry.
So, but I'll never get that because that's not my karma. My karma is going to be embalmed and put into some kind of cement vault, then dropped into the ground. Maybe if I want, I can be turned into ashes and sent out with the Neptune Society or something. But to me, that's a waste of resources. Cremation. Thank you, Seth. Cremation. So cremation or burial is the Western option.
Right.
And it's all regulated. It's all government regulated. And but see, I'm not Tibetan. That's my point. And so I don't really know. Once you get an idea of, it's more, to me, it's more important to have a physical, of an embodied understanding of Buddhist principles than it is to have a purely intellectual one.
Yeah.
And my metaphysics still tend to be, I lean towards Buddhist metaphysics because I just don't think the Christians have, I'm waiting. That's what part of the pseudo Catholic thing is.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, I guess you asked about that. And I'm going way too long. I apologize.
You're okay. I'm enjoying the story.
Okay. Well, one thing leads to another. I'm back in church, and I'm trying to obey this command, so to speak, from Garchen. This perceived realization that I'm supposed to go back and be a Christian. Well, I tried on many occasions. It was a very rough transition.
Yeah.
Because trying to make the two worlds work, you tried to syncretize them. And then you try to tell people, and some people get very excited and they say, "Oh, this is so great. This is so, I was a Christian. Now I understand. You're so smart. I want to, people would say, oh, be my guru." It's like, oh, no, okay, well, it's just bad. This is how cults start. Somebody thinks they know something and they're supposed to go back. No, that's not what Garchen wanted. Garchen just said, go back, be an American and be a Christian, be where you are. Not anybody's leader, just be a Christian. But see, when you try to combine, you bring new ideas into the mix, people will come up with, most people will be appalled, right? Most Christians would just be offended. They'd be angry. They'd argue and argue and argue. And every once in a while, you'd find one who'd want to join. And that was like
on,
bad.
On that point, okay. Like, why is it that, oh, okay, basically what Vervaeke is dealing with, like, on the highest level, what you're describing right there. He doesn't want it to be a religion. He thinks Zen play, or, well, would you think it's kind of like, is Stoicism a religion? That's a philosophical framework that bridges a lot for people. You ever dabble in any Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I found him kind of boring, but go ahead. People love him. There's some guys who love him. And I'm like, going, what's the big deal? And Sam Harris is singing his praises. I'm like going, okay, go ahead.
And Marcus is just like, if I die today, great.
But if not, every day is a good day to die.
Yeah, right. It's just super terse. And no, I understand. But I guess with Stoicism, Christians, especially in the Reformed space, can relate to it. They can relate to it because the Stoics have the logos, right? And they have the divine order, the reasoned order. And it all kind of like has the flavor of like a propositional understanding or something. And like, well, because we know that this is the way we were made and there's nothing really we can do about it, then why fight against it, you know? And why not just like live our faith where we are? And especially Christians that are into I would say predestination and things like that, this makes total sense. Me included, this makes total sense. Okay. But if you introduce like if you say something like Zen or Buddhism, even though these things wouldn't identify, I guess, as religions in the way we would traditionally understand, I guess the signal error comes from Christians that this is something that will lead me away from the path. When in your experience, maybe Buddhism even led, like your teacher, you had the realization that you needed to go back to your roots or something. Mm-hmm. And I'm just trying to understand why we can't be in these between spaces. I know.
Well, there is a religious. See, the part of the problem is that you have popular local expressions of Buddhism that integrate into the various cultures it's semi-indigenous to, right? So it originates out of India. So and Tibetan Buddhism is very closely related to late Indian Buddhism. So if you look at Hinduism, so-called, just the religion, it's really just, that's a British imposition on what are the religions of India, religions and philosophy of India. Mm-hmm. Well, in India, it's fully integrated into the culture. It's rich in imagery. It's got a worldview. It's got a calendar of 4 yugas, and each yuga is hundreds of thousands of years.
The Kali Yuga, right? I know.
And that's where, yes, and the quite big debate is where are we at? Are we in the Kali Yuga, or are we in the beginnings of something new?
David Lynch on the Kali Yuga, and we probably all deserve to be here, or something like that.
Right. Well, you do. Of course you do, because it's your karma. This is where you landed, dummy.
Oh man,
that's. Yeah. But see, and of course, Indian culture can feel and look and is, in many cases, merciless. Especially tradition. Many Indians are rejecting their traditional culture and religion, because they do find it. They want the progress. You know, the so-called what we're called the untouchables. You know, in a sense, they're unionizing, right? I mean, it depends on. There's progress there. It's not a whole cohesive. It's not cohesive. Right. It's actually, in a way, it's very cohesive. It's very hard to escape. If you ever notice people, Indian immigrants, they both, you might have a family of doctors and lawyers and engineers in a big Indian family, but when there's a marriage or burial or something or some special holiday, everybody dresses up for grandma. I mean, it's
Yeah.
because they still respect, their and at the same time, they feel a bit alienated from where they find themselves here because this is a white Protestant dominated culture in spite of everything,
Yeah.
however secular America may be.
Yeah.
So anyway, when it goes to Tibet, Tibetan religion, Tibetan Buddhism is very colorful and pantheistic in appearances, and so it's got some strange practices and it integrated some of the native religion of Tibet Bon into it. So it's got some shamanism in it. It goes to Southeast Asia. It starts to look and feel like what was preceding it too. It's like Catholicism did something of the same sort of thing. The Spanish Catholicism and is may be related to Mexican Catholicism, but they're very, in some ways, in practice, particularly at the popular level, they're very different. So yeah, I'm still trying to figure all this stuff out, but
No, Mark,
I would just
knew a
say
lot.
it's
You knew a lot more than you let on. But continue.
no. All I'm going to say is that Christians have good reason to be concerned,
Yeah.
and maybe part of the reason why I don't integrate well with the Christians in this little corner. There's always some frictions. There's always a little bit of sparks between
Yeah.
us whenever we meet and talk about metaphysics or theology, is because of my exposure to Buddhism.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see any obvious contradictions, but other people do. And to me, and when push comes to shove, if you're going to tell me, is it Aquinas or is it the Buddha or Nagarjuna, let's say,
Yeah.
I'm going to probably say Nagarjuna probably described how the world works better than Aquinas.
That's fascinating. I wish I knew that name. I want to say you're giving me some research to do here, Mark.
First century, basically, you got three kinds of Buddhism. You've got the I'm gonna just let's see here. See again, I don't study it. I'm not in the books that much right now, so I don't.
How do you say that last name one more time? How do you spell that?
Nagarjuna. He's Mahayana Buddhism. Okay, he's a first century. So he's around the time of Christ.
Yeah.
He's kind of considered by many Buddhists, not just Tibetan, but many Buddhists, to be within Mahayana Buddhism. Within that branch of Buddhism, he's kind of considered to be the greatest philosopher of them all.
Yeah.
So it's Nagar, Nagarjuna. I better get it right.
It's okay. I'm sure with a quick Google search, all these things can be alleviated.
Sometimes it's these days, just say it, right?
Yeah.
How do you spell Nagarjuna? Yeah, it's just the way I thought. Nagarjuna.
Excellent. Okay. No, what you're picking up on, the friction you're experiencing, Mark. I mean, of course that's natural. What do you expect? I heard Peterson say one time, well, if you're not Plato, then just prepare for like I guess maybe there's some wisdom in there's clearly wisdom in the traditions around us. I guess it is frustrating when people, I guess, what do I want to say? Maybe people don't have the grammar, or they don't. It's harder for them to see more good than bad, and like switching frameworks. The reason why Vaki's project interests me so much is because he's playing around with this Zen Neoplatonism thing, and the idea is that Zen is the clearest speaking. I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I've been playing around with it. The idea that Zen is the clearest speaking thing we need from the East, and Neoplatonism is the clearest speaking framework from the West. And the idea of understanding these two kind of broad nets in the East and West to be able to get different traditions to talk to each other. Now,
Yeah.
Vervaeke's doing something very, very, very grammatically complex here. He is like, when people listen to Vervaeke talk or read this book, like, for me, I'm high. I'm a creative person with words, and so I'll like, what's the word? Suspend disbelief for a while and just go along with it, even if I don't understand what he's saying, just because I'm always searching for, like, I don't know. He's playing. Vervaeke's playing, and he wants to do what he says. This is how to explain what Vervaeke's doing. He says that he wants to lay the like Augustine did during before the Roman Empire, during, I'm not sure historically
At
where
the
it
end.
was. At the end, he wants to lay the cultural. This is a quote: the cultural cognitive grammar of an entirely different culture, to steal the culture. Like, kind of have you ever heard that Christianity overthrew Rome without raising a sword? Have you heard this, Mark?
I've heard it alleged, but yeah.
Okay, alleged, right? The idea being that, well, I guess, as far as I understand, Karl Marx was not a good person. Now, I don't know that for a fact, but just stories I've heard about him. I don't know. I heard he was just kind of what I understand is that he was kind of an obscene person and sickly, and didn't. I may really offend a lot of people here. Obscene person, sickly, and literally didn't bathe. Was literally abusive to everyone around him. But he wrote this, like, shining, I don't know, idea system that overtook people. And that's not what I'm comparing Vervaeke to, my God. But just the power of,
Well, I guess you could say Vervaeke thinks he's in an axial moment and he wants to be Isaiah.
well, he would probably be horrified.
Or the equivalent,
but
Marcus Aurelius or something. He wants to be he feels that things are leveling and he wants to create the groundwork for the new civilizational structures to rise out of the disaster that we live in.
And that's extremely dangerous, and possibly what people would say about it. But this is the quote I like by Vervaeke. It's Epicurus: "Call no man a philosopher who does not alleviate the suffering of others." Okay, I mentioned that even in the last live stream.
Say that one more time again.
Call no man a philosopher who does not alleviate the suffering of others. What did the Buddha do? Focused on alleviating suffering, right? Suffering is the broken wheel. Now, so I guess the interest I had in Buddhism was not, like, fun. It wasn't like I just came at it like, oh, I'll try this out. I needed it. I don't know about you, Mark, but maybe when you encountered it in the same way, you needed it.
Right.
All right. So I guess I would say that maybe it's hard for people to understand that until they just get perspectively in the moment. I think I've heard Paul say before that people that go to church need it. Would you agree?
Well, I said something to Ron Copperman on his last live stream, because it was not a very good live stream because there was a connection issue, and I don't know what got recorded and what didn't. But I did say that I really do not like the size of my face. I'm going to change this back to little. That's better. And concentrate. More offend everybody. Played this. That's gone for 45 minutes with that big face of mine.
People are all looking at it on small screens, so
it's less offensive. But I said, I said something along the effects of, how long do you want to live with your demons? And so religion can either be something that you use to stay stuck in. In fact, I would say a lot of people do. You're stuck in something. You know, the goal in Buddhism is a kind of.
Wait, Mark, double click on that just for a second. What do you mean? What do you mean stay stuck in? Like, was it like
Well, stuck in your suffering. Say with Buddhism, you'll get, maybe this will be clear in Nagarjuna, but you don't even have to go there. You just Google it and you'll get there, I think. But it's you're there's a really good book. In fact, I would skip Nagarjuna for now and go to a book called "Why You Are Not a Buddhist."
Okay.
If you want to read one book.
Man, these Buddhists with the snappy titles. Oh.
I want to make sure I'm giving you exactly the right title. Why You Are Not a Buddhist. Yes. Oh, what? I don't quite have it. I don't quite have it.
That's a good title, though. You should.
No, but it's close. It's what makes you not a Buddhist. What makes you not a Buddhist?
Okay.
By the name is going to kill. I'm going to give you just the last name. That's all you need.
Okay.
Khyentse. Khyentse. Okay. Dzongkhar Jamyang Khyentse. But he's a character, and he's a character in his own right. He actually has a Wikipedia page. Filmmaker, Buddhist monk, teacher, all the whole 9 yards. So what makes you not a Buddhist? Very good book. I haven't read it in years, but very good book. It was very helpful. He lays in heavy. He's very much against. His concern at the time seemed to be the Western influence on East Asian culture and the pure Buddhism, so to speak, of his Himalayan tradition. And because you're going to keep suffering if you think your happiness is based on the conditions in which you live. Falling in love is suffering. As much as falling out of love. We can just put it, I can get real vulgar with it, but I'll just say like something like this. You find the love of your life, you find your soulmate, but the reality of life is one of you is going to have to exit this incarnation first. And that's going to result in suffering. And in fact, you're going to suffer more the more you love. This is essential to Buddhism. It's all forms of Buddhism. The Mahayana dig into it deeply, but this is foundational to Buddhism of any kind, whether it's the Theravadan, which is kind of your original early stage Buddhism, the pure Buddhism. No, this is allegedly kind of built just on the Buddha's teachings. Then the Mahayana, which is kind of you call it its Protestant version, and then the Vajrayana is Tibetan Buddhism. Anyway, each do something different, but they're all rooted in some idea like that. That your suffering is the more you're attached to anything about this world in terms of even attachment to non-attachment is going to be suffering. So, I'm serious. Well, it's just like, that's the whole part of the story of the Buddha about is before he has his full realization, he is, my dog is losing his mind. I don't know if you can hear it.
Just barely. It's not distracting.
I better go check on something. I'm going to go check on him. I'm going to play a little music. Give us a little break here. I'll be back in like 2 minutes.
You're good.
To make sure we're doing okay. We'll play Ron Copperman.
Excellent.
Oh, Ron Copperman walks through the morning haze with a bounce in his step and a laugh that stays. Got fire in his eyes like a holy revival. Says he's Pentecostal but he dances in style. Ron Copperman sings as he lifts up his pint with a hallelujah laugh and a twinkling light. He's the heart of the pub with his tail so colossal. Oh, Ron Copperman, my favourite Pentecostal. He cheers to the sky, then he downs his stout. Says, a little spirit, lads, what life's all about. He can quote the good book, then he'll joke till you weep. A saint and a joker, he's a man you should keep. Ron Copperman sings as he lifts up his pint with a hallelujah laugh and a twinkling light. He's the heart of the pub with his tail so colossal. Oh, Ron Copperman, my favourite Pentecostal. Once told the parson, let's pray, then we'll jig. Said grace on the barrel, then he danced a big gig. A miracle, they say he can walk on stout foam. When you're with Copperman, no night leads you home. Oh, Ron Copperman sings as he lifts up his pint with the hallelujah laugh and a twinkling light. He's the heart of the pub with his tail so colossal. Oh, Ron Copperman, my favourite Pentecostal.
You talked to this guy? Wait, who is that? That was awesome.
Ron Copperman?
Yeah.
House of Woo. I've pulled down most of them, but we did live streams for over a year, every Tuesday together. And it's now running on his channel alone because my schedule's too unpredictable and I wanted to do more other work. So and around the time I pivoted to pseudo-Catholic, I guess too, is all related. But it's anyway. And hopefully I'm still working. I still want to get my history of American Christianity out at some point. So
you've been writing this.
Yeah, I've been researching and putting together, trying to figure out how to tell the story of American Christianity in a YouTube-y type of podcast form.
Mark, so you're very creative, man. I like this space you're making here. I didn't know quite what I was walking into. I saw it on the outside, but this is you're doing a cool thing.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah, we'll see. But that song is based on my best buddy Ron Copperman in the corner. He's a character, and he's Pentecostal. He's full on Pentecostal. He's like the song, man. He's the interview I just did with Harris. I asked Harris, because Harris big into Karen Wong, who's kind of a Vervaeke type of personality, very heady, very intellectual, and not particularly emotional or emotive. But he loves Ron Copperman. Harris loves Vervaeke, but he also, and Karen Wong, but he also loves Ron. I said, well, what do you love about Ron? He's just a good guy. He's kind of like, he just makes me happy. And Ron will tell you that his experiences with Buddhism were pretty negative. He did a hippy dippy American approach. I assume there were chemicals involved. Called himself Shaman Ron at some point. I think the kind of Buddhism he experienced is kind of New Agey, kind of Eastern mysticism that has been adopted by many Americans over the last few decades, and it's rooted in it causes a lot of suffering because of the kind that Ron will tell you about, because they don't root their practices in proper Buddhist teachings. In fact, in one of the points I was going to make about the young monks,
it sounds like this sounds like when we'd explain to someone, no, you went to the wrong church. Like, there's better Christians than that. You know what I'm saying?
I think I can, but there are good and bad churches. If this is one of the things I could tell you about.
What I intended to say is maybe there's like a low resolution version of things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
I
think it's legitimate.
This is something, though. This is probably the most important point. Anybody wants to take away from this conversation is the Tibetans, when they train a young monk, They teach before they never get to meditate. They don't meditate before they learn. They actually do their book learning first. Before they ever get to meditate, there's a certain, they do a lot of, I don't know if it quite equate to rote learning, but it's you train in the philosophy before you practice. And the Americans, since from the 60s on, tended to avoid the teachings, went right into application, and the application went into meditation. And people, you can get high on meditation.
Yeah, that is
I
true.
mean, and I don't, and I've said I don't, because type 2 bipolar, I I know my brain is such that I can just sit and I can trip out, man.
Yeah.
I don't need any drugs at all. But just so what would an ayahuasca thing? I mean, some people get very great healing experiences from post-traumatic stress disorder or emotional wounds from the deep past. They'll go and do an ayahuasca retreat, and I'm like going, and for me, that may be true, but for me, no, I needed, it's actually the teachings, the learn, and then with the teachings, if I go and the only realization I need, so to speak, is the waking up to reality. And that reality is emptiness. It's now people, Christians, that's, you're going to find that's Nagarjuna. That's what makes you not a Buddhist. They're going to tell you that if you don't understand that, you're not a Buddhist. That's fine. You can be anything you want to be. Nobody's going to nobody's going to throw rocks at you for not being a Buddhist.
They're not going to run you down, which is nice.
But if you don't understand emptiness, see, if you don't understand the nature of the world that you inhabit. Now, we're not talking about, see, when the Buddha's talk, when somebody starts, there's the, I can't remember how many silences. Is it 3? When the Buddha wakes up, the very first things they ask, one of them is about God. Have you seen God? And he's silent.
Yeah.
The assumption, some Buddhists draw the assumption that means he's an atheist. No, you can't draw that. That's so they attach on that. He's just silent, because what he's talking to you about is what it is to be alive in this world now.
Yeah.
That's his message. His message is for you in the here and now. He's not telling you about heaven. He's not talking to you about your, any deities. And so what he's telling to you is that what the world you inhabit now, and that if you are, as long as you attach yourself, or see, it's attachment and aversion. That's both things.
Yeah.
If you feel the need to push away or gather towards you, you're going to suffer. And that's the karma yoga business. Is you can just sort of, you're just going to inhabit life, and I'm just going to be holy in this moment. I'm going to sweep the floor. I'm going to take care of the dog. I'm just going to be in the moment fully and without attachment. And so if I find myself living in a mansion one day and in jail the next, then I'm not going to change. I'm not going to waver one way. And there's just Christian
that's very similar to Stoic.
Yeah.
Thought, and they're from the West, Mark. So
Yes.
here's my proposal.
Yeah.
If that's so interesting what you were just saying about the realization is emptiness. It's like, for me, that really begs the question, well, here we are, these like forms, we're full forms, and we have substance to us, and we feel pain and we suffer, but the realization is that. So it's like, it's the two opposite sides of the poles, and we're supposed to learn something, I think, between the spectrum. I don't think it's one or the other. Now, that doesn't mean that it's nothing. I just don't think that it's a one or the other, emptiness or fullness.
Emptiness is not nothingness. there's yeah, that's important. Emptiness is different than nothingness. Nothingness is, well, no thingness. So if you that's another path of suffering. You get if it's real, that's, I mean, a lot of people get lost into thinking that
Yeah.
because it means it's nothingness implies fruitlessness. It implies anything can go, and emptiness is just a statement about the nature of reality, that it's at the human level, or so to speak, or at the level in which our consciousness operates, and we try to think of how best to put it off the cuff. I wrote something not too long. Go ahead. Any thoughts? I mean, is that what am I? Because I'm talking an awful lot, and I wasn't expecting to talk this much. So,
Mark,
I was going to ask you questions.
You gave me lots of good things to explore with the Buddhism stuff, and you filled in. You just, I don't know, filled in some gaps, I guess, with your experience, because I don't see myself going to Tibetan Buddhism, but like for you to have an experience with your teacher that then led you down a more Christian path, and for you to also be wrestling through like what you realized through Tibetan Buddhism with churches that you've tried to be in and out, feeling that friction there. I relate to this a lot, just not through that exact channel. I don't know. That's just helpful experience to hear. I guess I guess the question will continue to ask. I don't think these quests in life are just like, all right, here it is. This is the answer. But I guess what I'm saying is I'm trying to understand the between better. If maybe Buddhism is about that here-ness and now-ness and the emptiness, and the Christian thing is about that quest towards the Eastern Orthodox call it theosis. Other people will call it sanctification. This little symbol kind of captures it nicely. It's like the loop is the process, and it's going up towards progress. It's like slightly leaned up. So that's kind of what Viveki's project is, and I think it's nicely encapsulated in Buddhism and Christianity. I just wanted to tease some of that out with you, Mark. I mean, we could talk about this for ages, bro.
Yeah, the thing I would say is that you're going to find that. Let me just. I'll try to respond to that, but let me read this real quickly. This was just a note I made to myself.
Please.
The thing I wrote down was, I'm pretending to be more certain of these things than I actually am in fact. To the degree that I have any metaphysical beliefs at all, I do lean towards the emptiness of Mahayana Buddhism. But emptiness as a position lends itself to uncertainty, and when I see certainty in this case, I was responding to David Bentley Hart. When I see certainty in a thinker, I can't help but feel, as the kids say, cringe. So I push back a little with some cringe of my own. As I said, and this was something else, I said, resurrection implies life, and life implies change, and change implies openness to a positive abyss of possibilities that the strict theists close off. Their insistence to define God in comprehensible terms is idolatry for me. Their theism is anti-Abrahamic, as I've defined as the penultimate Abrahamic move. Let's see here. It refers to something else. Their insistence their insistence to tell us what is and isn't Christian is, as Paul the Apostle put it, to crucify Christ anew. Actually, and that's actually out of Hebrews, not a letter of Paul necessarily, but I think like just the idea of resurrection, right? Well, let's back up,
Yep.
because you're talking about, okay, you're saying Vervaeke is kind of finding a synthesis between a certain kind of Christianity and Christian practice and Zen.
I think what he's trying to do is make two really big buckets, Mark,
Okay.
and Neoplatonism, and just
Neoplatonism, thank you. Yeah.
yes, just like people in Reformed. This is a crude analogy, but people in Reformed theology can relate to Stoicism because of our underlying principles. Zen Neoplatonism is trying to get to the bottom of it, so that there's at least a between. There's a common language, there's a common grammar, so that you're like, you already had some of those experiences where you could talk to people, they were excited about your experience in Buddhism as a Christian, and then there were others that were not. And I guess maybe Zen Neoplatonism is just he's just trying to create more tools to have this conversation. You know,
And I would just say, well, my only, if it's probably time to wrap up, but I would say that have as many buckets as you possibly can. You can never have too many,
you can.
but realize every last one of them has holes in them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there'll be a point at which you're going to find Zen, history of Zen, for example. Zen failed Japan profoundly in the lead up to World War II, because they played. There's some history written about the role they played in the in Japanese nationalism at the beginning of the 19th century that resulted in the monstrosity that was Imperial Japan. Alan Watts dying of alcoholism, so on and so forth. I mean, there are no heroes.
Yeah, Nietzsche, people, I guess, inventing their own value systems. But even I hope this does not become true of I'm an advocate of Peterson. I have a little thing on my monologue on my channel, but he is on the razor's edge, you know, with maps of meaning, with his existentialism. Peterson is an existentialist, and he did a course on Nietzsche that it relates so much to him. So yeah, I just wonder. We can't do it alone, Mark, maybe.
Even if Jesus Christ is your hero, right? And I'm not going to say he shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And I love Jesus, but what am I loving? You know, is it the Jesus of my creation or the actual Jesus? See?
Yeah.
This is where emptiness comes into play, and knowing how to be. See, it's not just emptiness, but it's knowing how to be in emptiness, and that's that posture of meditation, right? It's this. That's the whole practice of meditation in Zen. It's just or any form of yoga. It's just a centered place. Just imagine yourself. You can even do this because one of the problems I have with the yogis is that many of their yogic practices require a certain physical form, a certain kind of quality of embodiment that is healthy and has 4 limbs and can bend and can sit. And I'm like, I want a yoga that's made for the little girl who's trapped in a wheelchair because her bones break every 6 minutes because in some fractious way, because she's got some horrible disease that has disfigured her and cripples her. No, I want a yoga that will enlighten the poorest of the poor, the most physically afflicted on the planet. So a yoga that says you've got to assume the asanas and to do this and to do that and to sit for 6 months under the Bodhi tree. I want to say, fuck all that. I want a yoga and a Christianity that says you could still be, as long as you have awareness, you have consciousness, you are still in union with God, and you can realize you're in union with God, and that's the yogic part, right? It's not just
Mark,
you can
Mark,
realize it.
To your point, Suzuki reading Beginner Mind, Suzuki's book. He brought Zen to America. He said that the Buddha would have liked the bad students the best. The ones that couldn't sit still, the ones that and the and the idea in Christianity is the least of these. I think it is there. I think those people, can tap into it, or that's what we can hope. I vibe with that. I understand that, Mark.
Yeah. So that's so. I mean, it's a young man's religion looks very different from an old man's religion. I think just for that reason. You and in Christ, this is the cross, and this is why the cross is so important. And Christians don't pay enough attention to it in many cases. There's the American kind. It's very much the American kind of religion places great emphasis on outcomes, and on
that's
success.
Why they need the Buddha. That's why they need the Buddhism, Mark. That's what. See.
Well, but the problem is we polluted. Western Buddhism looks a lot like that too, though. And this is Paul Vanderklay likes to mock the girls in the yoga pants, and I don't blame him, because there's guys there too who want the girls with the yoga pants, and they're all stuck in samsara.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and you can't. But see, for me to say it, just to even to point it out, I think is probably counterproductive. It's better because they create resistance, right? Because you're saying something I now must oppose. That's
Mark. No, I don't want to take up your schedule here. Just, have you heard of this guy? You heard of Alan Carr?
Let me blow it up real quick.
The Easy Way. He wrote a very famous book called The Easy Way to Stop Smoking.
Okay.
And it's all centered around exactly that. I don't know to what extent he encountered Buddhism, but the more you dig into this philosophy that helped 16 million people stop smoking, he just explains that why would it be hard to stop doing something, to not do something? Like, you're working hard to addict yourself. He'll say things like, consider for a moment that the reason or the way you think you need to solve the problem by gritting down, starting the streaks, starting things that replace the cigarettes or whatever, consider for a moment that all of these things are misframings of the situation, and that really you don't like smoking. It hurts you. It hurts your health. Other people around you don't like it. So it's that emptiness thing. I feel like whatever you push against creates the resistance. You rail on the yoga pants, it creates our people the most critical of porn watch porn. See what I'm saying? Like, it just the push and the pull.
Mark S agrees with you. He likes that.
Heck yeah.
So we could keep going on and on and on, because this is all big stuff, and I don't see. And the thing is I'm at an impasse. You asked about the pseudo Catholicism, and I'm like I'm a pseudo Catholic because it's like I'm a bad Catholic. Even if I wanted to be a Catholic, I'm exploring it as a subject, and the only reason I guess you could say I'm doing it, it's a yogic, karma yoga kind of move, right? Is it the best move for me? I don't know. I want to do it because I think
what, you're going to mass? I went to one Latin mass in the last month. That's okay. That's where my the first time ever. That's where my existentially. That's where I have arrived. It's just I'm trying different. Yep, different
Latin mass. Yes, that's a certain move within Catholicism. That where did you find a Latin mass? I don't even know if there is one around me.
Really? Well, that's interesting.
I wouldn't know where to find it.
Holy Redeemer in Portsmouth, Ohio, bro. I don't know. Yeah, it's the priest was, what's it called? They don't face towards you. Get
Yeah, they did the old.
put a hit out for Neil or whatever. Neil will know. They don't face towards you.
Mhm.
And there's things they whisper by themselves. And there's like 5 nuns over there and a bunch of regular people on a Saturday in like jeans and sweatshirts. And they're all like, what I noticed from it is that it was the most religious act, maybe the most religious liturgy, definitely, that I've witnessed. Like it in terms of it was for God. Like Father Fulton was there for God, and we were all kind of just witnessing that. And I watched people. I didn't kneel or bow or tail. I was just there to witness, man, and figure out what it looks. It's like an escape room that you keep going deeper and deeper into, not trying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see. For me, I've said, maybe not said it publicly, but I'm not sentimental in my religion at all. I don't think God has an ego that needs to be assuaged.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, it's when we talk about Christ being the King of Kings. Well, where does that line come from? It comes out of the Persian court. That was my knowledge, historically speaking. I don't know if there was a previous King of Kings, but that was, I think, the first King of Kings was Cyrus the Great or something like that. So the historians out there, William Branch, can fix that for me and tell me if I'm right.
Heck yeah.
Came hundreds of years before Jesus. And then you say, well, the son of God. He's the Son of God. That's so important. You got to understand he's Son of God. Well, who was the first Son of God? Who was the Son of God before Jesus? Well, it was Augustus in the Roman Empire.
You see, it does get kind of. Now, a year ago, I would have never been able to hear any of that, Mark, because it's just too spooky. It's too. I know religions develop. In my personal lifetime, we have like in my short 30 years, we have I don't know, like Reformed theology. People started getting hip to it, and like evangelical American Christianity, we started railing against that. And I remember when we didn't even we started taking communion at the churches I was around every week, and that was like crazy to us. That the idea of taking communion every week, that was like way too religious. We started doing creeds, or we'd read the creed before songs or anything. So even in my short experience, religion changes so surely over thousands of years. These things start getting read in, or people pick up the grammar of just the places they're in, and that I don't know. That part of me is frightened by that, Mark, to be completely honest.
But if you don't see, the thing is that if you think that the Word of God, the Bible, that's what some people insist on calling the Bible the Word of God.
Yeah,
I just prefer scriptures. I mean, to me, that's just what they were called a long time ago, and and there's no ideology imposed upon it. The scriptures are holy and useful, just as 2 Timothy tells us what they're good for. I agree with all of that. I have no problem with that. And it says that the scriptures are God-breathed. But so are you. I mean, if you believe the Genesis tale about the creation of Adam, you are God-breathed. He was a lump of clay until God breathed into his nostrils life. So what do we mean when we say something is God breathed or God inspired or inspired by God? These are mysteries that should be meditated upon, not placed into glass boxes and secured with locks and
checked off to make sure you're like on the right path.
Exactly. It's that's just, again, if you're trying to relieve suffering. But see, some people want to keep their demons. They want to stay locked into when I was speaking figuratively.
Yeah.
But the people want to stay stuck, and that's fine. You're going to have to. I'm not going to, when I oppose it or when I speak alternatively, I'm not necessarily. Look, I can point to you ways in which certain kinds of religion produces really catastrophic results.
Yeah.
And I'll point to Mormon fundamentalism.
Mm-hmm.
That's an example of really bad religion. That's a kind of religion where they believe, Joseph Smith read the gold plates or it's essentially the idea is the word of God fell upon us. It just dropped from out of nowhere. People have these ideas about the Quran. Some people have this idea about the Bible that it just kind of fell from the sky and was the prophets and the apostles just took dictation or something.
Yeah.
And I think that religion, that kind of approach to scripture almost always produces really bad outcomes for somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what do we do with it? Well, we look at it. I see it as I tend to read the scripture as I'm really interested in the context in which any particular passage of scripture arose.
Yeah.
So what's the world that the Apostle Paul is inhabiting? I want to know about that. I want to know what are the influences and the things. I'm curious as why Christians spoke about Christ the way they did. He was obviously someone who needed explaining, that they had experiences. They confronted an empty tomb, and they had these visionary experiences of a resurrected Christ. But how do you explain any of that? And this is what they struggle with. First, go to 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Paul will tell you what he thinks resurrection is. But then you go to a gospel like, I think it's John, where they talk about Thomas insists upon seeing and touching the wounds.
Yeah.
What did he see? What did he touch?
Yeah.
And why are there still wounds? What is it? And it's a body. Is it a body? Well, can you walk through walls? So what kind of body are we talking about? Yeah. Well, I think this is so this is why you can't take any one passage and say, this is it. This is what we really need to believe, because there's an alternative passage somewhere else that's going to try to explain to you more about what we're talking about here. So 1 Corinthians 15 should be taken into consideration when you're looking at the Thomas passage. And so on and so forth. If you're looking at, people, I've seen people literally slam their Bibles shut and tell me, I just can't believe it anymore, because they just had a realization while reading the story about Noah for the 15th time, and they were raised with it, and they now look at it and they think about the measurements and this and that and the other, and they just say it's just silly, and they lose their faith completely because they can't believe in Noah.
Dang.
Somebody pushes the 6,000-year Earth narrative, and all the evidence points to the fact that no, the Earth is so many billion years old, and it's like, live with it. And people lose their faith, or they reject science for it, right? Science is no good because of, because it contradicts the Bible. And that's not what the Buddhists would call it skillful means. That's just not
skillful means. I like that.
Yeah. So hopefully this was good. I hope. Is this what you wanted? I don't know.
Mark, you give me a lot to think on. No, thank you for talking with me about these two opposite poles, man.
Okay. Yeah, anytime. I should be more in the Buddhist text than I am these days. I'm not. I read periodically. I pick up something. I don't meditate anymore, really.
You got too much of the juice already, bro. You're not trying to get any more of the juice.
Well, there are times when I have to stop and see myself. I mean, when you do it, I meditated obsessively for a while. So I probably got my 10,000 hours in. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what happens is it's like the riding a bike, muscle memory kind of thing. I know I can kind of sense when I'm really getting out of it. So I can just stop, do the old watch the breath.
Yeah.
Maybe for me, sometimes I'll work with my imagination and get myself just to a place where I can just watch the craziness happen inside my brain
Yeah.
and go, okay, yeah, just thinking. One of the techniques is if you find yourself when you're sitting and you're just sitting, right? Your job is to sit for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour.
Yeah.
And you're distracted and the bills come up in the mind, or the woman you want comes up to your mind, or the insecurity, or the pain in your bottom, or whatever. You just say thinking. So every time something comes up like that, you say thinking. Something like that helps. Then you got to realize that then I'm thinking about thinking, and you got to watch out for that too. Cheers.
Well, I was so high strung, Mark, that literally doing 10 deep breaths at any point now is just positive gain for me. I'm definitely in a deficit in this way, not in the emptiness way. I'm in a deficit in the other way, so I'm moving a little bit towards the emptiness to try to round that out, man. But I appreciate you, brother.
All right, check out What Makes You Not a Buddhist. That might be a helpful text.
That is an epic title.
It breaks a lot of American Buddhists. I mean, they realize they go. I've literally had people get angry at me over that book. They're very. It's all love and peace, but boy, it's an assumption breaker. It's just he
emptiness is alive.
He's a character. So yeah. All right. Thanks, Nicholas. And anytime you want to talk more, let's set it up. This was fun. Appreciate it.
I enjoyed it, man.
All right, we're signing off.